Hi Leo, welcome back to the Astrology 33 channel. This is your April 2026 tarot reading. Thank you to those of you who have liked, viewed, shared, and subscribed to the channel. I appreciate all of that. For those of you new to the channel, as far as what we have in front of us, it's a 12-card spread, with each of those cards representing a different house of the zodiac. Starting with your sign, Leo is the first house all the way through to Cancer, representing the 12th house. When we get through that, we'll actually pull an oracle card for some additional insight. And as far as the decks being used this month, for the main tarot deck, we have the Tarot of the New Vision, and for the Oracle deck, we'll be using the Wisdom of the Oracle. But we're actually going to start the reading off our rolling those astrology ice we have in front of us to get an idea of where your focus should be as far as that goes. All right, we have Gemini. So for you guys, Gemini is actually your 11th house of friendships, groups, hopes, and wishes. And we actually will have Uranus moving into Gemini on the 25th of April. So that's a pretty significant thing there. Also, Venus will be moving there around that same time. Speaking of 11th house, right, we also saw that come up with this as well. And we have the Sun. So the Sun's actually currently in Aries, and that's actually your 9th house of, let me see, foreign affairs, philosophy, higher learning, and then it will eventually be moving into Taurus on the 20th of April, and that's your 10th house of career and social status. So we'll keep all that in mind as we go through the main spread. So for the first house, which represents personality, self-awareness, and appearance, we have the Three of Pentacles. So this is actually Capricorn energy here. So I feel like this is saying you could be looking into long-term goals, right? Maybe you're working on building something that'll stand the test of time. So for some of you, that could be maybe a physical structure, right? Maybe you're working on your homes. But if not, that could just be saying that you're in a bit of a phase of doing some long-term planning for the future. All right. In the second house, which represents possession, self-worth, and finances, we have the Five of Wands. So this is actually Leo energy here. But yeah, to see this could just be saying that maybe when it comes to finances, you could be in a very competitive field right now, currently at this time. Maybe there's some people arguing over finances within a group that you're in. And another way this could be coming across for me too is that maybe you're around people who tend to try to be flashy when it comes to finances, right? So if one person has something nice, they want to try to one-up them, right? So, okay, they bought this thing, I'm going to buy something nicer and show that off, right? So it could just be one of those things that you're seeing in your environment. I have the feeling that for a lot of you, especially what we were just talking about with the first house energy, that's not the energy that you're in, right? So you could find it a little bit off-putting, but for whatever reason, you could just be around people who are like that at this time. All right. In the third house, representing communication, short journeys, and siblings, we have the Magician. So to me, this says that you're going to be coming across very well when it comes to your communication this month. There's actually going to be a full moon in your third house of communication, which is Libra. It'll be right on the 1st of April. So maybe as we progress further from that energy, you might start to feel this a little bit stronger. But yeah, either way, I feel like this is saying that when you do speak, right, people are going to actually pay attention to what you have to say. So maybe because they might see that you have a lot of experience, right? Maybe they see that you have a level of success, right, that maybe others aspire to, but they can't quite get there. So it feels like this is saying that you will be well received when it comes to your communication. And funny enough, I feel like this is saying even if you don't fully know yourself, I feel like you'll be able to deliver the message with confidence that'll have people believe in you. All right, and the fourth house, which represents home, roots, and family, we have the Lovers. So this is Gemini energy here, which we also saw come up with the dice. But seeing this here to me says that, yeah, you just might find a lot of comfort within your home environment, right? You might actually feel like things are being worked out behind the scenes when it comes to that as well. So like we said, for those of you, if you are working on improving your homes or possibly purchasing a new home, things along those lines there, or beyond that, right? When it comes to just being in your home environment, you might feel a lot of comfort there and like things are being worked out behind the scenes in your favor. All right. And in the fifth house, which we see is basically the opposite energy, what we were just talking about, we have the Devil. So, fifth house in general points to romance, creativity, children. But in this context, could just be saying that maybe you're really obsessive when it comes to that area of life, right? So maybe when it comes to creativity, right? You could have something that you really locked in on. So again, what we were saying, right? So I was saying, oh, maybe you're building something. For some of you, what it could be is maybe there's this creative project that you're really fixated on, right? And you can't seem to pull yourselves away from it. For others of you, this could just be pointing to a connection you might make with someone, right? Where maybe it might feel like there's something karmic about it, where maybe you have a past with each other. But yeah, it could just be one of those things that you could find yourselves struggling to pull yourselves away from it. But doesn't necessarily have to be a negative, even though your artwork looks a little more dramatic in this deck, right? All right. In the sixth house of health, work, and daily routines, we have temperance. So this is a good thing to see here because if you are obsessive about something, like we said, right, to me, this is a good sign that it won't go into overkill to where you could actually negatively impact your health or anything like that when it comes to the goals that you're pushing toward. But to me, this is also a sign, again, similar to what I was saying with the lover's energy of you might feel like things are being worked out behind the scenes, right? So that could be what's propelling you forward as well, right? Where you feel like, okay, because sometimes, certain things you might feel like everything's working against you when you're trying to build something, and other times you might feel like things are really working out your way. So I feel like this is what you're going to be experiencing more of this month. All right. In the seventh house, which points to partnerships, contracts, and relationships, we have the High Priestess. So yeah, so to see this energy here to me says that you're gonna really rely on your intuition quite a bit when it comes to partnerships this month. So whether that be entering into a romantic connection or signing a contract with someone, I feel like this is saying that you're really just gonna lean on your more intuitive nature at this time to figure out which way to go there. For some of you, that could be partially due to the fact that we still have Jupiter in your 12th house, so that could be what's sparking that intuition for you guys at this time. But yeah, I feel like that's what it's pointing to there primarily. All right. So for your eighth house energy, which points to death, rebirth, intimacy, and investments, we have the Four of Wands. So this is Aries energy here, which, as we spoke about for you guys, that's your ninth house, and we'll actually be in these. This basically represents the last 10 degrees of Aries, so we'll be there, let's say, roughly the 10th to the 20th of April. But so this could be pointing to a timeline, but more so than that, I feel like this is saying you're going to see some growth around investments you've made, right? So, of course, we could view that in the very basic level as far as, oh, if you made financial investments, right now you're seeing growth from those investments, but it doesn't necessarily have to just be that, right? It could be your time, your energy, your effort, right? Here it looks like this could be a couple, right? So it could just be one of those things where if you put a lot of effort toward your relationship, you could see some growth and expansion there. But either way, definitely looks like a positive energy to see here for sure. All right, so for the ninth house, we have the King of Cups. So this is Scorpio energy here, King of Chalices as it's called in this deck. But seeing this here, I feel like this is saying you're feeling pretty secure around your beliefs, right? So even if this is something where, especially these days, right, people are very quick to throw their opinions out there, things along those lines. I feel like this is saying you're feeling pretty firm on your beliefs, even if there aren't a lot of other people around you who share those beliefs, right? So again, like we said, right, that could almost just one tangible example of that could be what we were talking about here, right? Where maybe you're being a little bit more reserved around your finances because you're looking at a long-term goal, right? Where it may be, whereas maybe people around you are more flashy in the moment, right? Like, oh, I'm going to spend this money right now to show that I have money. Whereas you're like, yeah, I'm just gonna, maybe be smart with investing, right? And build things up slowly because I have a long term goal in mind. So it could just be something like that. But in general, I feel like this is saying whatever the case may be, I feel like this is you feeling like you're pretty firm in your beliefs. And then, funny enough, in your environment, you might feel like there aren't many people around you who share those beliefs, but it's not really shaking your confidence as to whether or not those beliefs are right for you or not. All right. In the 10th house of career and social status, we have the Page of Cups. So yeah, so to see this here, this is Piscean energy typically, but um, not only that, I feel like this is also saying that for a lot of you, this could just be saying that there might be an offer that comes your way, but it doesn't necessarily fit what you're looking for, right? So, you know, might not have as much long-term stability, for example, as what you might be looking for. But the more positive side of things here, to see that this is a page energy, to me says that there is a little bit of flexibility there, though, right? So pages aren't as set in their ways as, let's say, like a king, right? So it could just be one of those things where it's like, oh, well, even if it's not everything you want, I feel like this is saying you could at least try to negotiate to see if you could get things more in the direction that you would want them to go, right? With situation like, well, worst case, if it doesn't work out right, you weren't necessarily viewing it as the ideal offer anyway, so it can't hurt to ask. All right, and for the 11th house, which, as we said, we saw some indicators of the dice pointing to this as well, we have the King of Wands. So, funny enough, this is actually the card for your sign. So, yeah, this could just be saying that for a lot of you, you might be relying more on yourselves a little bit more. So, that could tie into what we were saying with the High Priestess energy, right? Where you're tapping into more of your intuition. So yeah, so there's for some of you, I feel like this is saying I wouldn't go as far as to say you feel isolated because for the most part, I feel like you're okay with that if that is the case. But it's just more of those things where you feel like you're just more trusting in yourself at this time because you might find that the people around you aren't as necessarily reliable. So you're just keeping a little bit more to yourself at this time. And in the 12th house, which generally points to spirituality, blind spots, and mental health, we have the 10 of Pentacles. So, yeah, so again, I feel like this is basically pointing to what we've been seeing in certain spots without this reading, right? Where, like I said, I feel like you have long term goals in your mind, right? So, the quick, flashy, flash in the pan kind of things aren't necessarily things that are interesting you at this time, right? You're looking for long term stability, long term outcomes, right? So you're not necessarily worried about what's hot in the here and now, right? You're thinking long term with your movements at this time. All right, and at the bottom of the deck we have the Six of Cups. So this is Scorpio energy here. And yeah, maybe that's ultimately why, right? There could just be something that you've held on to for a long time and you're determined to see it through, right? And again, I don't, other than seeing the devil energy in the 5th house, and we talked about how that could be playing out, I feel like it's the same for the most part. You mean well behind it too, and it looks like you do have what it takes to actually bring it to fruition. But again, this could just be what's fueling you at the very least. All right, but we'll see what the Oracle card adds to the mix. So, like I mentioned, we're going to pull a card from the Wisdom Oracle deck here. So, what I'm going to do is give this a few shuffles, then we'll cut the deck and pull a card. Okay, we'll take this card here, get this out of the way, and we'll see what cards you guys got. All right, we have chopped wood. There's the artwork, and the number's 42. So yeah, I do have to say, just that wording alone does make it sound like it aligns with sticking with a long-term goal, right? Not necessarily being drawn into the here and now that much, but thinking long-term. But we'll see what it says in the book. All right, essential meanings says being grounded in everyday experience, humility. The Oracle's message: there are times when a big dream is meant to lie dormant in your consciousness so that you can pay attention to the simple chores in your life. Consider why pruning a tree is the forerunner of delighting in the beautiful blooms when it is in full blossom. The mundane act of pulling off dead leaves, watering the soil, and then leaving it be to let nature take its course is an important step in manifestation. Taking your attention away from your goal brings you into a state of receptivity. This is the deeper purpose of releasing attachment. When you engage in everyday tasks in a meditative, contemplative way, you clear your energy to receive your aha moments, which brings you ever closer to what you seek. So that was definitely an interesting message there because that made me think of seeing that High Priestess energy that we saw in the 7th house. The relationship message says, nothing is as important right now as just doing what you need to do day to day. Let your heart remember that not everything has to be hard-won, passionate, or even obviously meaningful. Relationships and friendships go through lulls when the everyday tasks are at the center of awareness. That is perfect now. Hold hands, wash dishes, make a fire, read a book, share a meal, say nothing, stare into space, pick up socks, tell a dumb joke, and leave space to breathe. The work of your relationship right now is very simple, just to be present. Funny how it takes work to just be. All is well, really. So yeah, that's an interesting message there because that makes you think of seeing the devil card in the fifth house energy, which could just be saying, maybe there's this part of you that's feeling this nudge to overdo it, right? Where like, oh, I have to do this, this, and this. It could just be saying, if that's the case, you could just step back a little bit and let things flow a little bit more naturally. And then seeing that could be pointing at least somewhat to having Pluto in your seventh house, which can make you a little bit more controlling around that area of life. All right, and the prosperity message says now is the time to take small steps rather than larger leaps on the journey to creating your most prosperous life. Move your focus off your big dream and attend to the mundane chores. Focus on the little things that may have piled up while you've been mapping out the greater plan for the life you aspire to manifest into reality. Chop wood, carry water, as the Zen proverb advises, or wash dishes, walk the dog. While you're doing all that, Spirit will have a chance to move mountains and set wondrous miracles in motion for you. Remain humble and aware of the present. So that was interesting there, the part where it says, Spirit will have a chance to move mountains and set wondrous miracles in motion for you. It makes me think of what we were talking about with the lover's energy, right? Seeing that energy of things being worked out behind the scenes. And then we also saw that with the temperance energy as well. So hopefully that all resonated with you. We'll wrap up there, and I'll see you later. Bye.